Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, taking a look at another Detroit Lions 2023 NFL mock draft. Again, before we even get into it, we ran back a Detroit Lions mock draft about 3 weeks ago, and the support and the engagement and the comments from the Lions fans was absolutely awesome. Whether you agreed with the draft or whether you had some problems with it, the support you guys have shown was absolutely awesome. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. This will not be the last Lions mock draft we do. If you guys are kind of a friend of the channel, you know I rock with the Buffalo Bills, but this Detroit Lions team has been a team we loved looking at in 2022, and we've been loving looking at in 2023 as well. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think as well, whether you disagree with it, whether you love it. That's what the draft season is about, that football discussion in the comment section. So again, appreciate the support you guys have shown. Let's start this draft up. And as we fire it up, the more and more the draft season rolls on, the more hype you're seeing around Anthony Richardson's name. And the more hype that means that's massive for Detroit. That means that Jalen Carter or Will Anderson might be falling to number 6. Now, do I think that will happen? Probably not. But if there are 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 5, and that's a realistic possibility with Will Levis, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson, that means Will Anderson or Jalen Carter is falling to the Lions at 6. That's a dream scenario. Do I think it'll happen? No, but it does seem like a growing possibility as we see more hype around a guy like Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. No, so taking a look at the positions or the prospects available at pick 6, no Tyree Wilson, but you got to go talk about the positions you want the Detroit Lions to address. First is the cornerback. A guy like Devin Witherspoon looks phenomenal at pick number 6. My take on this situation, though, is I think you go take a different player here and see what cornerback falls to you at 18, because Devin Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, Joey Porter Jr., they're like 1A, 1B, 1C, and also another guy that I absolutely love is Emmanuel Forbes. I think there's a ton of really good cornerbacks in this class that you can get at pick 18, 48, or 55. Now, a position that you can't really get an elite bona fide stud at is in that pass rush position. And a guy like Myles Murphy, I think, just makes too much sense. He's a guy 6'4", maybe even 6'5", 275 pounds. He wins with phenomenal speed around tackles, but he also has a ton of power to go right through tackles. In terms of an all-around prospect, Myles Murphy checks a lot of those boxes, and I get the love about Tyree Wilson, but Myles Murphy's still my edge number 2 on my board, and it's because he's more complete prospect. He's phenomenal against the run, and he's a guy that Tyree Wilson gets a lot of talk about the freak traits and athleticism he has. Myles Murphy's going to remind a lot of people at the combine why he was a former top 10 national ranked player, why people thought he was going to be a top 3 player picked in the 2023 NFL draft heading into the 2022 season. He's still that dude, and I think that would be a phenomenal pick for the Lions at pick 6. Now, at 18, this is where it gets interesting. Do we get a cornerback that falls to the Lions at pick 18? And you see Brian Branch. That might be – Brian Branch is so good. Let's check if Joey Porter Jr. is on the board. He's not – Brian Branch is a top 10 guy on my board as well. You look at what NFL teams want to do. They want to be able to stop the run, but also have as much speed and coverage ability on the field. And this is what I've been beating the table for with Brian Branch. He is that guy. He's a phenomenal tackler inside the box. He's a football player. He's one of the best football players in this class. Whether he plays deep high safety and you take a look at his snap counts, or whether he plays in the nickel or in the box, he's really good at everything. Again, doesn't miss any tackles. He's really around the line of scrimmage in the run game, and he plays all over the place. I think he's going to be a phenomenal slot cornerback, but he's also a guy that can play that safety position and play it at a really high level. This might be the dream scenario for the Detroit Lions. As much as I love some of those boundary cornerbacks like Devin Witherspoon, like Christian Gonzalez, like Joey Porter Jr., Brian Branch falling to 18, which might happen when teams fall in love with the lengthy boundary cornerbacks, would be a great pick because he's one of the best prospects in this draft. Great start for the Detroit Lions. You address 2 positions of need and you get 2 really good football players. Now at pick 48-55, this is probably where you're targeting a linebacker. A guy like Jack Campbell would probably be my linebacker 1 outside of Trenton Simpson. So let's take a look at who we have at this linebacker position. And Jack Campbell's on the board. I like Dion Henley. I like a guy like Drew Sanders, who I believe just went right to the Atlanta Falcons at 44. And I like Trenton Simpson. But if you're looking for the linebacker that had the best pure film in this class, it's Jack Campbell. Now, is he going to test as well as a guy like Trenton Simpson or a guy like Dion Henley? Probably not. But in terms of film, in terms of what you've seen from the college football player, Jack Campbell made that look so easy at Iowa. And he's a guy that I don't think gets enough credit for how athletic he is as well. I'm interested to see what his tests at, but trust the film. He's the best linebacker in this class, at least on film. He doesn't miss tackles. He's all over the football field. This would be an absolute dynamite pick for the Detroit Lions at pick 48. Now, getting into pick 55, this is probably where you're maybe looking to address that boundary cornerback position. Let's take a look at who's available here. Garrett Williams, the guy I like. I think the pick's Eli Ricks. He's going to be a guy that's probably top 40, maybe even top 30 on my board. A guy with some character concerns, right? Transfers from LSU, gets suspended by Nick Saban at Alabama. But when he hit the field for Alabama, he's kind of a Joey Porter Jr. Sauce Gardner clone. And I maybe should be throwing the Sauce Gardner comp around, but a more slender guy, but really good length. He's at 6'2", but super smooth, which I think is kind of rare when you see those taller, longer cornerbacks. He's extremely smooth. He knows how to use his hands, and he's got good ball skills as well. He's another guy that was a former 5-star prospect coming out of high school, so he has those athletic traits. If you feel comfortable about the character concerns, which I'm not really sure, and I don't love talking about prospects' character concerns because I don't know any of these prospects personally, I think Eli Ricks would be a dynamite pick at 55 where you address your boundary cornerback, a guy that I think has the ceiling to be a first-round cornerback. And then you get a guy like Brian Branch, Miles Murphy, Jack Campbell. On the defensive side of the ball, you feel absolutely great. And heading into the draft, that's what you wanted to do. You wanted to address the defense side of the ball because this offense is one of the best in the league. Now you just got to continue to address, oh my God, Tank Dell, Carl Brooks, two of my favorite prospects. This is tough. Right? Tank Dell, I feel like you just got to take the value here. And I know Amon-Ra St. Brown has been phenomenal in the slot, but Tank Dell is another guy that just gives Jared Goff and that offense another set of weapons. You have Jameson Williams obviously getting healthy, coming back. I just don't know where I love Tank Dell as a prospect. I don't necessarily know where he fits into this offense because you already have kind of your slot guy in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tank Dell is kind of a bone. He needs to play slot because you look at the size. He's 5'10", 165 pounds. He's not very big. I have concerns about whether when those longer quarterbacks get hands on him, you might just go Carl Brooks again. And if you're looking for one of the most dominant defensive players on this board, it is Carl Brooks. I mean, from the inside, he's a weird prospect because he's 6'4", 300 pounds. But you look at where he lined up. Most of his snaps came from over the tackle or outside the tackle. So kind of like that 5 technique, which is a weird spot for a guy who's 300 pounds. But look at that, 49 pressures, 12 sacks. He lived behind the line of scrimmage, and he dominated MAC competition. He goes down to the Senior Bowl and dominates again. And you look at this Detroit Lions team, you want all the talent you can get on the defensive side of the ball. So let's go get Carl Brooks, a guy that I'm going to have a top 50 grade on at 81. This is a phenomenal draft for the Detroit Lions so far, especially when it comes to addressing the defensive side of the ball. Now, I'm sure the Lions fans are like, all right, let's work some offensive players into this as well. We'll take a look at some wide receivers. We'll take a look at some tight ends as well. But this has been a really good draft in terms of getting this defense where it needs to be heading into 2023. All right. Pick 150, Michael Wilson. I think that's a perfect fit. I mean, this draft is coming right to me at times. Looking at some other wide receivers that you might be eyeing, Justin Shorter from Florida is a guy that kind of a 6'4", 230-pound wide receiver who's going to probably run in the 4.4s. You can't really teach that. Those guys don't grow on trees. He had some problems with jobs. You don't overcomplicate this. Michael Wilson, you take a look at what Michael Wilson's done. You love the frame. He's 6'2", 209, so he's got a big body. He just struggled with injury. Again, only played 4 games in 2020, 5 in 2021, and 6 in 2022. Was productive when he was on the field, but you go down and watch what he did at the Senior Bowl. You don't find many guys who move like Michael Wilson. And when it comes to looking at these wide receivers and what wide receivers are going to translate to the next level, and Michael Wilson is one of those guys. I don't think he'll be available at pick 154, but if he is, I mean, you're sprinting the card up to get him drafted because he's so smooth off the line of scrimmage. He knows how to run routes and create separation and then use the frame to make the catch. He's a guy that you got to figure out what's going on with the injuries. But if he's on the football field for the Detroit Lions, I mean, he's going to be really, really good. And he's kind of a perfect complement to a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, who Jameson Williams more the flyer, the vertical threat. Amon-Ra St. Brown, kind of the slot guy. Michael Wilson's a boundary receiver who's going to create separation. I think that's a dynamite pick for the Detroit Lions. All right. 183, 194. This is where you just try to find the diamonds in the rough, maybe some guys with some juice. I wouldn't mind taking a look at this running back room. A guy like Eric Gray, Jamal Williams, as much as I like to do, you talk about why I like the Detroit Lions. Jamal Williams is one of those reasons. I don't know if you're going to sign him again. What, turns 28 this year? You're not sure how much he looks like he has plenty left in the legs. But what are you going to sign him to a 3-year deal where you're not sure if he's going to be productive? Go get another rookie running back who you don't have to pay. And Eric Gray is a top 5 running back on my board. He's a guy who's 5'10", 210 pounds. Extreme shiftiness when he gets to the second level. Makes linebackers, makes safeties miss with relative ease. I mean, makes those guys clean miss. He's also very good out of the backfield. He's a guy that I think can be a workhorse in the NFL, but he's also a guy that's really good in space as well. Eric Gray, I think, is the easy pick at 183. And if you're not sold on Eric Gray, just go check out his highlights. Don't even watch the film. Just look at how smooth of a mover he is, and you'll be sold on him. Pick 194. I want to go check if Julius Brents is still on the board because you talk about guys with high upside. He's not on the board, which is very unfortunate. Quarterback from Kansas State. That would be a really, really nice pick for the Detroit Lions, but he's not on the board. So taking a look at you're not necessarily looking at what positions they need to fill because during round 6, you're probably not going to get a bona fide starter, but who's going to produce on special teams? Who could be a starter in the future? That's kind of what you're looking for more there. Trey Dean's a guy that I've absolutely loved as well. Dylan Horton, talk about a guy that just fits what Dan Campbell's trying to do. Nothing special about Dylan Horton. He just has an endless motor. He's 6'4", 280 pounds, so he's a heavy-handed edge defender who plays his tail off. DJ Johnson's another one of those guys. Could take a flyer on a hyper-athletic dude in BJ Thompson from SFA. Stephen F. Austin, right? I think SFA Stephen F. Austin. He was a guy that had a really good all-star week. I think you go with Trey Dean. Trey Dean's he needs to learn how to play football a little bit better, but you look at the frame at 6'3", 207, very physical when he comes down and plays in the box, but I also think he has the athleticism and range to play that deep safety role. And if anything, he's going to be really good on special teams. He's been one of my favorite players to take a look at in day 3 as well. That'll do it for the mock. Let's take a look at and PFF might not grade us out all that well because we did have a lot of prospects that I was more high on than PFF was. But I think we got a lot of good prospects, and we certainly addressed the defensive side of the ball. Last time we did a mock, Darnell Washington went. I took Darnell Washington, I believe, with that 55th overall pick. A lot of Lions fans didn't like that. I still like that fit, and I get it, though. Maybe in round 3. Taking a look at what they grade. Yeah, Brian Branch, that's such a dynamite pick. And he might fall if the NFL falls in love with some of those boundary quarterbacks. Go get a guy who's really, really good at football, and that's Brian Branch. Jack Campbell, Eli Ricks, 2 phenomenal picks, I believe, in round 2. You addressed the big concern with linebacker, and these are 2 guys that Jack Campbell he's going to start right away. He's got great film. He's a very, very good linebacker. Now, is he going to be an all-pro? The jury's still out on that because I don't know if he's quite the athlete. But in terms of getting a really solid play on a rookie linebacker, that's going to be Jack Campbell. Eli Ricks has a ton of upside. Carl Brooks, I don't know why they didn't like that pick. I mean, they liked him too at pick 81. That's a lock. Michael Wilson, Eric Gray. And overall, my favorite pick of the draft, probably Brian Branch at 18, Jack Campbell at 48. And then, Michael Wilson at 154. He's another guy that if he stays healthy, he's going to be a year 1 contributor for the Detroit Lions. That'll do it for a 2023 NFL mock draft for the Detroit Lions. A ton of good defensive prospects available in this draft, and I expect the Lions to go heavy on the defense side of the ball, continue stockpiling that talent. That's what they did last year with Aiden Hutchinson. Let's see them continue to do that. Again, appreciate the support you guys are showing. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and of course, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. That helps the boys out, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.